This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What's going on, Chicago Bears fans? We are less than 2 weeks away from the Chicago Bears starting the 2024-2025 season against the Tennessee Titans at home, but we're even closer to knowing what that 53-man roster is going to be for the Chicago Bears, as cuts are due by August 27th later in the afternoon. So we're 36 hours away, and the Bears have already started getting busy. This is going to be tough for Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles, as they even said themselves that this roster is going to be very difficult to make. But there's going to be a lot of guys who could still come back and be on the practice squad, but it's going to be tough to break down this roster for you guys. I cannot wait to see who ends up making it, because there's probably going to be some shocks, and I'm going to break down who I think will get cut. Now, before I begin today's show, if you haven't already, hit that like button on this video if you think the Chicago Bears team is going to shock the world and be a lot better than people expect, along with commenting your cut candidates for this year's 53-man roster. And if you please could, hit that subscribe button. We're 809 away from 18,000, our goal by week 1 of this season. So please hit that if you haven't already. And excited to share that we're having our first watch party this upcoming season during week 2 against the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. We have paired with Freshie and Authentico Tequila to host at Rizzo's Bar and Inn in Wrigleyville. Make sure to go to the link in the description now to get your ticket today, as it includes your entry fee, 1 margarita included in your ticket cost, and a donation to College Bound Opportunities, a local Chicago charity. So let's hit on some moves that have already happened for the Chicago Bears. They have waived defensive tackle Keith Randolph, an undrafted rookie free agent out of Illinois, along with releasing edge Khalid Kareem, a former Notre Dame Fighting Irish player. And on top of that, they waived, with injury designation, Douglas Coleman, someone who got hurt in the Bears-Chiefs game. Good to hear that he is doing better and was released. And the Bears, the way they did this, he still can be under their insurance and get paid for proper medical attention. So classy move by the Chicago Bears there. On top of it, the Bears released tight end Tommy Sweeney and wide receiver Freddie Swain, and threw Nasimba Webster and Ian Wheeler on reserve. So they are still within the Bears organization, but not on the 53-man roster at the moment. Good to hear that Ian Wheeler is back, and also Nasimba Webster had a huge preseason. So excited about that. But during all of this, the Bears did make some moves that make this roster cut even more interesting, as they traded for Jarrell Taylor from the Seattle Seahawks for a 25 6th-round pick, and then traded for defensive tackle Chris Williams for a 25 7th-round pick. With Taylor, they brought in a solid rotational edge, as Matt Eberflus was still concerned about the depth at the defensive line. Poles said, hey, I got you, man. Brought him in. And considering what he did as a rotation guy, 90 quarterback pressures, 21.5 sacks, and 34 quarterback hits in 3 seasons. Solid for a 6th-rounder and only a $3.18 million cap hit. And then Chris Williams, who worked with Matt Eberflus during his last season as the Colts defensive coordinator, is a strong, athletic defensive tackle who just comes to this roster and brings a lot more energy and athleticism. You don't trade picks for guys you're going to release later that Tuesday, so those guys are locks, which makes a lot of other guys' positions a little bit more dicey. But we'll see what ends up happening with the Chicago Bears, but I'm going to break down who I think is going to be a cut candidate. So starting with the offensive cuts. The first one that I think is going to happen is quarterback Austin Reed, who will end up getting waived, and the Bears will hopefully let him hit free agency, which then they'll re-sign him to the practice squad. On top, I think that he's a solid quarterback, but with Brett Rippon, you got to respect the veteran who also knows Shane Waldron's offense. But Austin Reed might get his opportunity. We fluxed Nathan Peterman on and off that practice squad for the last 2 seasons quite a ton. So injury depending or anything like that, Austin Reed could be on the 53-man roster every now and then for the Chicago Bears, but a good person to have in the locker room. Going over to the running back room real quick, I think Travis Homer will end up getting cut, even though we did put Ian Wheeler on reserve. It doesn't matter. We have a fullback. We have 3 running backs. We have a ton of wide receivers that we need to keep. And also Travis Homer just didn't do enough this preseason, in my personal opinion, to impress. But also on top of that, he's a big cap casualty. Bears can save $2 million. So I don't think that he will take a practice squad spot. If he does, great, but I think he'll be another candidate as well. The wide receiver room, I got 4 wide receivers that are getting waived and hopefully coming back to the practice squad. But DeAndre Carter, John Jackson, Colin Johnson, Dante Pettis. Carter lost his spot with that fumble that he backed into in the last Kansas City preseason game. and also he was given a ton of chances at wide receiver this preseason and just couldn't get the numbers and the looks that he wanted. So it just comes down to stats, unfortunately, in business. Bears will probably end up waiving him and he'll get picked up elsewhere. Then John Jackson will probably be a practice squad guy. Caleb Williams, good friend that they brought in. He showed some promise, though. Solid blocking wide receiver, big body, too. I just think he needs more reps. So throw him on the practice squad and we'll see how he does. Dante Pettis is the big veteran out of this group that I think will end up getting waived. He just can't seem to stay healthy consistently. He had that huge game against the Cincinnati Bengals with 2 touchdowns, and it might be enough to keep him, maybe put him on another injured reserve kind of contract situation deal. But if it comes down to it and the Bears have too many of them, I think the Bears are going to end up releasing him. But he'll get picked up elsewhere. He's a solid veteran rotation wide receiver to have. Going over to the tight end room, Brendan Bates, practice squad guy for sure. He'll get waived. I don't think any team wanted to picking him up for their 53-man roster, but put him on the practice squad. Good guy to have, big body, solid preseason, good blocker too. So like what I'm seeing out of that. And then going over to the offensive line, I got 3 guys that'll probably end up getting waived. Avante Collins, we'll probably have him on the practice squad. Bill Murray and Carvin, again, same thing. Just throw them on the practice squad. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of these guys end up staying around. Not teams are not going to go putting them on their 53-man roster. You can't sign a guy from a practice squad to be on another practice squad. It has to go to a 53-man. So there's no way. These guys will be just fine, and they'll come back to the Chicago Bears organization, and maybe we'll see them as a depth piece later on. Now, before I get into my defensive roster cuts, I would like to thank today's sponsor, BetUS.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
BetUS online sportsbook and casino is one of the biggest in the United States and gives awesome money line opportunities for the Chicago Bears. Right now, they're currently at plus 300 to win the NFC North. I am absolutely pounding that. I think the North is wide open and the Bears have a really good opportunity to do so. So make sure you go to the link in the description now to get a 125% match bonus with my link in the description below. Up $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Super exciting stuff. Make sure you go check it out now. Now let's go into my defensive cuts. It's going to be a little bit intense here because we do have a super deep defense, and the Bears definitely have a good problem here having too many good guys on their defense. But starting with the defensive line, I got Dominque, Mallory, and Demarcus Robinson getting cut because of just the different moves that have happened, bringing in various different players. I think Dominque Robinson obviously is the bigger name out of the 3. I hope that he somehow makes this roster, but it's just tough because he did have a few good plays this preseason. He did put on enough muscle to make a good, push to make this roster. But Eberflus still saying after the 4th preseason game that there was still concern there. It's not a good look, and he was definitely at the bottom of that chain. I'm hoping for the best for him, but I don't see him making this roster at this point, especially after bringing in Jarrell Taylor. Going over to the linebackers real quick, Noah Sewell just can't seem to stay healthy. The former Oregon Duck was drafted last year, hoping to bring him as a steal, and he just can't stay healthy. We have a solid group of linebackers right now. I think Micah Baskerville has done a good job making a fight to make this roster. So overall, I don't think Noah Sewell is going to end up making this team. Maybe the practice squad, but that's a big ego, punch. But if he wants to stay in the NFL, he might have to do it. Then you got Carl Jones Jr. and Paul Malalo, both solid linebackers, but more so built like safeties a little bit. And I think they'll be practice squad guys. We have too many special teamers already on this roster, and they'll be practice squad guys. We get up to 14 spots, I believe, now in this league year. So a lot of guys will be back. I don't think they'll be picked up by other teams, but hey, you never know. And wishing them the best of luck if they do. Going into the defensive back room real quick, Greg Stroman Jr., a practice squad guy for the Chicago Bears multiple times over the last couple of years. I think he'll be a practice squad guy again to start, but I think that he does make a case now that a team might put him on their 53. But then Reedy Steward, someone that I know Bears fans don't want us to get rid of. I think that he has done a great job this preseason. It's just that we have so many defensive backs, guys, and they're going to take some veterans over him that are on equally money contracts. Like if it comes to $400,000, is it really worth it at that point, especially with a guy that you could have that knows this defense a little bit better and knows this league? I hope that, he definitely deserves a roster spot somewhere if someone were to pick him up, but I see him definitely coming back to the practice squad. He loves being a part of the Chicago Bears. You can see it in Hard Knocks. You can see it when he's playing on the field, and he'll get his opportunity. Don't worry. I fully believe in that. Couple other quick calls. Leon Jones, Jalen Jones, Quentin Johnson, and Travarius Moore are all other DBs that will either get waived and picked up by other teams or be on the practice squad. Just didn't have the stats for it, unfortunately, but we'll end up seeing what ends up happening. I'm excited for all these guys, though, because this is a good problem to have that we're in like, hey, we got to cut some people. It's a good problem to have, guys. Very excited about it. So we'll end up seeing who gets on this roster or not because we find out on Tuesday, which I'll be doing a live stream right after we officially find out the 53-man roster. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But thank you, as always, for tuning in this episode of Just Another Chicago Bears. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe. Help us hit 18,000 before week 1. But with that, thank you, as always, for tuning in this episode of Just Another Chicago Bears. My name is Nick Brody, and as always, bear down, baby.